Y'all hear that? This combine been sitting here in the shop for at least a week. Now that we're ready to go cut beans, air just started leaking out around the rim. Please, y'all tell me, am I the only one that stuff just breaks down sitting still in the shop? Is it only me that this happens to? Please tell me I'm not the only one. John Deere drills, like what here's behind me, or just heck, any box drill. Let me give you a little piece of advice that I figured out. If the remnants of a hurricane come up your way, do not leave that thing parked outside. I have been fighting this thing for 3 days now, where the wind blew rain and moisture into the seed box, the seed cubes, seed boots, and everything else, and I had seed sprout, and all I've been doing is just constantly unchoking stuff. As it is, I still got like 5 seed cups that's not hardly putting out because the seed got caked right there around the roll, and I can't get anything up in there to poke it loose. So I got to run the rest of my seed out so I can clean this thing perfectly. Man, it's been a headache. But anyway, we just about done planting cover crops right now. I'm just running over ground I've already covered because I didn't catch the left-hand side of the drill to stop turning it at some point. So just running out the rest of the seed, trying to fill in the gaps because we gotta go get started cutting soybeans. So hopefully get this done today. Be ready to cut first thing tomorrow. All right, y'all see there where moisture got in and blew in through the seed cups, and see the stuff started sprouting and blocking you know, seed from going down into my meter some there. You know, not all of them are that bad, but, and then I guess wind blew moisture in there at the seams of the grain box. See where it caked all that up and started sprouting it. So never again will I leave a grain drill with seed in it sitting outside during a hurricane. And finally, we're cutting beans now. I'll tell you what, just been another one of them days. Things ain't going right. Sensors on my bean header was acting wonky. Had to do multiple calibrations, and finally got to where it's at least semi-working, but needs some fine tuning. Cameras on the grain cart, working fine when we unhook the grain cart after corn harvest. Now they not working. Just it's always something. Always got the tire on combine fixed. So but anyway, I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking on this farm. We're starting out cutting beans by doing some custom harvesting here because, you know, we had to spray the majority of our beans and they're not quite ready to harvest to get those replanted. But this farm over here is a good farm to get everything set, get the yield monitors calibrated and everything else. We got to haul these to Tyson, so we're not in any huge hurry. But we probably got another, I don't know, 25-30 acres on this farm to do, and then we've got about 35 acres of my beans that we did have to replant that we can go get, and then I'm hoping at some point towards the end of next week that the rest of our beans will be ready to cut before we get started picking cotton. Because I'm not going to say what these beans are yielding because they're not mine, but what we are seeing is those 2 hurricanes did not do these beans any favor whatsoever. These beans, realistically, they really should have been cut about a week and a half ago, but because it's just plain too wet. And we're seeing a ton of actual seed damage on these beans, just where they stayed wet for so long. started rotting, got some disease in the seed and everything. So, and he's about to carry the first load off to Tyson, so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how much they dock us for damage on them. But these ain't the pearly white soybeans or pearly yellow soybeans that we should be harvesting. The quality does not look good. You know, according to my yield monitor, I mean, they're still yielding good, but when you get dinged at the elevator because of quality, that really puts a damper on things. The problem is, I mean, they had a great soybean crop out here, and then just right before they was ready to harvest, you know, had two separate hurricanes that hung around for 4 and 5 days each, and just, you know, that constant cycle of rain kept everything just so wet. And you do everything right all year long, and then right there at the very end, you know, you get some storms, and what was a very promising, good looking, high quality crop is really hurt on quality. Last time we saw something like that, I think, was in 2018. We had kind of back-to-back hurricanes that year too, and saw the same thing. And I think for the most part that year we were looking at like
what time does Tyson close?
I think we were looking at like 10% soybean damage. Close at 6. So anyway, we'll get this custom harvesting done, get back on our fields. I'll bring you back then. All right, today the thing's gonna work a little bit differently. Kelly and Andy are going to be defoliating cotton. They're going to be putting our second shot of defoliant on the cotton that's already had the first shot, and I'm going to be in the bean field working by myself. But anyway, I figure some of y'all might want an update on how well the drone did on defoliating cotton. So this is what the drone defoliated last Tuesday afternoon. It's now Monday morning, so 6 days later, and gotta say, I'm impressed. Now this spot that we're standing in right here, it still looks pretty dang green, but when you got thick, rank green cotton, that's the way it looks after the first shot. That's why we got to make 2 passes in order to get it all off, because there's still a ton of foliage left on this cotton. But anyway, looking up here at the top, you know, there's nothing here on the top. Now we start getting closer to the base of the plant, you know, where the upper leaves block the defoliant from getting down to them. You know, that's what we got to come back and get the second time. But overall, I mean, the drone did an absolutely fantastic job. My self-propelled sprayer would not have done any better job than what this did. Now, we get over in the thinner areas of the field, it was a lot more open, a lot more self-defoliated. I mean, heck, it almost looks like we could go pick that part today, even though there's still quite a few bowls out there that haven't opened up. Look, like this leaf right here. I mean, there. See about this one. See, you hear them pop, they just fall right off, and that's what the defoliant does. And like I said, this is only 6 days after the first pass. And what we sprayed for our first shot, in case you're a cotton farmer and curious, we sprayed 4 ounces of Folex, 3 ounces of thiazuron, which is generic drop, and 14 ounces of finish. Now, because of the temperatures, that's you know, those are some fairly light rates, but you know, it was real warm. Defoliants acted, you know, the defoliants worked quickly and worked well. And then today, Kelly and Andy gonna be making a second shot, and we're going with 9/10 of an ounce of ETX, which is a more concentrated formulation than regular ET, and then 40 ounces of ethifon. The ET is a herbicide, and it will take care of the rest of the leaves on the plant, plus any regrowth we might be getting in the top of the plant. And then ethifon is a plant hormone that will encourage the rest of these bowls to go ahead and open up, get it ready for the cotton picker. But look here on the ground. Look at all these green leaves that have just come off in the last couple of days from the first shot of defoliant. You know, that's just how thick and green this cotton was. Overall, extremely pleased with the job the drone did. You know, if that's the only option for you to defoliate cotton in your area, I would not be scared of using it again to using again to do the job. Now the rest of my cotton, all of it was primarily replanted. It still needs a couple more days of maturing out before we go out with the first shot. So hopefully about the middle of this week we'll hit it with the first shot, and then 6-7 days later come back with a second shot, and then hopefully by the time we get all of our first defoliated cotton picked, the replanted cotton will be ready to pick. We can just fall right in line, get it all harvested. About the only place where you suffer from a drone, which you would suffer even more from an airplane, is just right here around the edges next to the trees. You don't want to get the drone too close to the trees, might crash it. And you say, we got a few spots right here that's got a ton of young regrowth on it. That's about the only place where a self-propelled sprayer is going to be is going to have an advantage over a drone. Like I said earlier, it's just going to be me running solo out here in the soybean field. We got, I don't know, 15 acres left maybe on this farm. I'm going to try and get finished up. And anyway, when we quit Saturday evening, I thought, ain't going to be no problem. Going to be a nice, easy day. Probably 2 loads to haul off, 15 acres cut. Shouldn't have no problem. Well, Saturday night, got a text from Tyson, which is a local granary like 10 miles down the road, saying that they were no longer going to accept any soybeans over 3% damage. Now, I've already talked to you about the damage we're seeing from these soybeans because they had to go through 2 hurricanes with extended 4 to 5 day wet, cloudy conditions after the hurricane, and we got some soybean damage. Well, the first load that we sent off surprisingly came back at 4.5% damage, which I thought was very good. I was expecting, 8, 9, 10% damage. I was really pleased when we only got 4.5% damage. But just for reference, 3% damage is when these granaries typically start docking you for quality issues. Heck, sometimes, you can get a 1.5 to 2.5% damage just from running soybeans through the combine, splitting the fragile seed and everything. So 3% damage is still very low damage, but not to take anything over 3% damage is absolutely unheard of. Let me show you what 4.5% damage looks like, and I'm assuming this load will be 4.5% too, considering the first load was. That right there, now, those aren't absolutely terrible looking beans. I've definitely seen worse, but you get soybeans like this that are discolored and shriveled up. Some of that is due to the drought. Some of it is due to just too much moisture during the hurricanes and everything. Here's one with purple seed stain. That's going to be genetic and environmental conditions. And then you see ones like this right here that got split by the combine. There's another one. Now we're running our concave in as a relaxed position as we can and still get threshing. We're running our rotor as slow as we can and to still get threshing to try and minimize how much damage the combine's causing, but you're going to have some. So, these ain't awesome looking beans, but I've for sure delivered a whole lot worse in years past. But to cut off all soybeans at 3% is, I've never heard of anything like that. Maybe other places, but definitely not around here. And then coming on the heels of the wheat fiasco, where had load after load getting rejected for deer poop, I'm pretty sure Tyson's gonna have some pretty ill customers, because pretty much anybody that's got early soybeans around here, they're gonna have some level of damage because the hurricane was all over West Tennessee. So what are we gonna do about this? Well, instead of carrying it 8 to 10 miles down the road to Tyson, we're now gonna have to carry this load about 52 miles all the way to the river. Haven't heard any restrictions on them on accepting soybeans, so we're going to take this load, the next load we cut, to the river, and me being out here by myself, instead of having a real easy day, looks like now we're gonna have a really long day, just depending on how bad the lines are, because it's gonna take me a little over an hour to drive up there, a little over an hour to drive back. But I don't know how long I'm gonna have to sit in line. You know, I don't know if I be able to pull right up 15 minutes and dump, or if I want to sit in line for a couple hours. Just don't know. But anyway, this really aggravates me. Now, I typically don't complain too much about the fact that us as farmers, we can't set our own prices. We do have a little control over prices on determining when we sell, but you know, we can't set our prices. The prices are pretty much dictated to us by the Chicago Board of Trade, and we just got to try and sell at what we think is a profitable price. And the reason I ain't complained about that too much is for the simple fact that, unlike most other anybody that produces anything else, you know, no matter what our product is, we're able to sell it. You know, we don't have to go out and find a buyer and convince them to buy our product, which is a big benefit and kind of offsets the fact that we're not able to set our own price. You know, for years, farmers have been able to, you know, enjoy the fact that, you know, regardless of what their crop looks like, unless it's just absolutely awful and unsalvageable, they're able to take their product to the granary and they'll get paid for it. They might get discounted a lot for it, but they're able to get rid of the product and sell the product. However, now that we might be potentially losing that ability to sell our product, if there's something the slightest bit wrong with it, now that just really makes it even worse, the fact that we can't even set our own price. You know, for years, you know, the fact that we were able to actually sell our crop, no matter how much we had, no matter, you know, usually what the quality was, you know, really offset for the fact that, you know, we can't set it. But you take that away, I mean, it's just another hit that us as farmers have to endure. All right, I'll see y'all in an hour. We'll see what the line looks like. All right, looks like we're gonna be able to pretty much just pull right up and dump. No lines at all. Maybe I'll get home a little earlier tonight than what I was planning on. So, get this thing dumped, see what the damage looks like on it. All right, just weighed out, got a ticket, and that damage came back at 3%. So, I guess technically I could have gone to Tyson with that load, but considering the first load was 4.5%, there was no reason for me to think this was 3%. And also, if I carried it to Tyson, there's no guarantee that they would have graded it the same either. You know, for all I know, they might have graded it 3.5%, 4% damage and rejected me. So, I don't know. We're gonna go cut this other load and we're gonna bring it back up here because we're up on top of the hill, and those beans are definitely damaged a little bit more. They were ready sooner than the ones in the bottom that we have been cutting, so I definitely expect this next load to be more damaged than that. So, but hey, at least we didn't have to wait in line. There's still a chance I might get home at a respectable time tonight. And haven't had a phone call from Andy or Kelly yet either. That's always a good sign when I don't have to hear from them. That means everything's going smoothly. We got back over here about 1 o'clock and got started. Just me, myself, and I out here. All my best friends. We got the truck parked over there in the corner of the field. We're not going to utilize the grain buggy because this isn't going in our grain bins, and just one landlord. We don't have to keep track of the weights or any splits or anything. So whenever we get full, we're just going to deadhead over there to the truck and fill it up from there. And this is what we got left. Like I said, on maybe about 15 acres or so. Up here on the hill, they died a little prematurely, not yielding like they were down there in the bottom. So I think there's a pretty good chance we might be able to fit it all on the truck and just make one more trip to the river to get this farm wrapped up. I can hear a whole bunch of pinging off the windshield here where these beans have done gotten dry. The pods are extremely weak, and as soon as that reel touches them, the beans just pop out. Now, I'm running my reel as high as I can and as slow as I can and still get beans to feed into the headers. This was something I kind of explained on the video where I had the drones spraying. Unfortunately, as I was editing it last night, realized I had real bad problems with my microphone and had to delete several clips. But you know, what we were seeing is that these beans had been ready for quite a while, but due to the hurricane, we couldn't get in here and harvest them because the beans were too wet, and all that extended rainy period just really weakened the hulls or the pods on these beans. And you know, just even without the combine coming through here, they're starting to pop out of the hull. That's a huge reason why we sprayed our beans to burn down the replanted beans that were still going to be a ways away from harvest, so we could get there and harvest them, because the beans that survived the original planting, you know, they were starting to pop beans out all over the place, and we stand to lose a whole lot of yield. You know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to explain that fact in the video there. Tell you what, this year there's been problems around every single corner that we've had to deal with. There's not been one easy thing about this year, and it's just all year long, it's just been trying to make the best out of a less than ideal situation. All right, we just got this hill done. Didn't take long, took a little over an hour. So go over here and unload and get that load hauled off. We definitely have less than a full load. Drought really took a toll on these beans on this hill. They did about half of what they're doing down there in the bottom. Looks like wheat planting is beginning for some. Got a neighbor here, got his drill and seed tender out here. I'm assuming he's planting wheat. He could be planting canola for all I know, but we got our tractor parked right there in the edge of his field. Need to get out and move it so he can get that planted. Anyway, folks, we'll get this hauled off and wait till I get some help, and we'll get moved over some of our fields, get started on them. And try and even up the load half and half here. Let's check on Andy and Kelly, see how far they've gotten. Alright, looks like he got Ed Smith done, then he went over here to McClary's. Looks like he got Clanton done. And looks like he's made it over there to Todd. I don't know if they'll quite get all of his spray today, but they'll get pretty dang close, get it wrapped up in the morning. I always like being able to snoop on them without calling them and asking them, hey, come along. I'll tell you the best part though, no phone calls. That means it's been a good day.